Rich, I'm one of the administrators here at West Haven, the way it is. What we're doing here today is we're giving you guys a voice, we're giving you guys an insight about West Haven, about the politics of West Haven, your concerns, your questions, and for a long time we didn't have a voice in this town. Now what we're trying to do is give you guys kind of a voice to voice your opinions, to express yourself. And a lot of people in this town aren't really up on the politics, so what we try to do is give you an insight and let everybody know. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to interview Nancy Rossi, one of the Democratic mayoral candidates. We invited Ed. He didn't show. If he shows, great. We'll ask him the same questions we're going to ask Nancy. All these questions came from you guys. I've been writing them down for 2 days. They're all fantastic. You guys did a great job with that. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you over to Nancy. Nancy, hello there.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
Good, very well. So just give us a little background about yourself. Where are you from? How long you been in politics? What's your background?
Okay, my background is I grew up in Bridgeport. I moved to West Haven in 1981. I'm the mother of 2 adult boys, and I'm grandmother to one beautiful little 7-year-old. I became a CPA quite a few years ago. I went back to school as an adult, got my degree, and then sat for the CPA test. Certified public accountant, I think, gives me great expertise in finance and business, and I believe that's why I will be the better candidate going forward to bring West Haven out of this financial mess that it has been in.
Great. Okay, so we got a lot of questions to go through tonight. You guys did a great job, like I said before. So I'm going to get right to them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Nancy the questions. She hasn't seen any of these. I've kept them all quiet from her. She knows that. Everybody else here knows that. A lot of people here, by the way. You guys did a great job. Everybody showed up. You want to show the crowd real quick? Everybody did great. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to ask the questions, and then away we're going to go. So here we go. Our first question for you, Nancy. Many other towns implemented spending freezes before the summer, including New Haven. Why hasn't West Haven, and will you?
I absolutely will. It is part of my platform that you can find on the website. Spending freeze, hiring freeze will be implemented day 1.
Okay,
that's it.
Good enough. Okay. Does Nancy think there is an opportunity to make budget cuts without significant impact to some of the city services?
Yes, I do. I think that it's important that every budget line item we go through, we see where we can save money, maybe with overlapping services, different departments, and I don't believe that that would impact the city services. We could talk with the Superintendent Board of Ed to do that as well, to go through everything and go through every possible line item. We want to make sure that everybody is getting paid the same rate, because there is an allegation that pay rates were changed for relatives, and so it makes it it makes it so that once somebody does something like that, now you question everything, because usually the first time wasn't the first time. The first time you got caught was not the first time you did it. So I would definitely personally go through and give a nice audit to the payroll and what everyone's getting paid and job descriptions and that type of thing. And I think we would end up saving money there, and I don't think that's going to impact any of the services.
It's definitely a needed process. All right, so far so good, we're going great. The Havens, are you for it? Are you against it?
Okay, the Havens, when it first was brought forward, and actually Mayor John Picard was the one who signed it. I looked at the documentation, pulled the documentation myself, so I know that to be true and an accurate statement. It was supposed to be a commercial development, and everyone knows where it is. Unfortunately, I think it's been mishandled the last 4 years, because as we see, we sit here 4 years later and there's not a shovel in the ground there, and the only time the fence comes up is right around election time. Was I for it? Yes, we voted, and in fact, we received, and that's why I know that not only myself, but the former city council that was in with Ed his first term, worked with him. We got 6 unanimous votes that night, against 6. That's like an impossible thing to do in this city, but we got 6. We did our best to put it through. And what ended up happening was it ended up stalling. Now I know there were holdouts, and I know that they're getting all the blame, but it wasn't like half the project was holdouts. It was a few people, and I still don't understand why you couldn't do demolition, or if there had to be any cleanup down there, while you were waiting for this to get through, and why this project is not farther along.
Right. I've been asking the same questions. Okay. What is your vision, and what should be done with the Beach Street corridor? Pretty much the galley to Stoves, that whole area. We've all been talking about how it should be developed or how it should not be developed. What are your opinions on that?
Well, I'll start at the Captain's Galley. That should be knocked down. I mean, that looks terrible down there. I do believe that is both a wetland and also a flood zone. So I don't think it would probably be wise to start building buildings in that particular area. That being said, where Chicks is and the Debonair, I think that would be a beautiful place for maybe like a large conference center, a hotel and convention center, something overlooking the water as other cities have done. And when you go out of West Haven, you can see that brings in people. If you have a beautiful place to stay, we have a gorgeous beach, so I think that should be developed properly. I'm not looking to fill it full of housing or that type of thing. What I'm looking for is commercial development or mixed use, not straight housing, because we do have a lot of housing right now.
We certainly do. This is the truth. All right, next question. The balanced budget ordinance lacks teeth. There is no penalty for non-compliance. What would you do to change that? That's a loaded question.
I have to laugh, because my goal would be to have a balanced budget so the ordinance would never kick in. But say there was some stray thing, I think there should be teeth in it. Unfortunately, there's not. I don't think that you're allowed to go after, I don't know if you're allowed to go after the mayor at that point in time or whoever was responsible for it. But I think that it's important that a person understand the budgeting process. You don't go and fill all your expenses in first and then make your revenue fit the expenses. That's the wrong way of doing it. That's the way they've been doing it. I can tell by the budgets that I've looked at. Clearly, they don't balance. Now, if I knew before they ran into deficit that they didn't balance, and others on that council with me knew it, then there's no reason why the mayor shouldn't have known it. And we did try to share. I have tried in the beginning to talk to him myself. Michael Last, Mitch came with me, and there was no, in the beginning, first couple of months, but then he would not listen to anything and basically was not willing to work with anyone that did not support him.
Isn't that the truth? All right, pretty simple question, but I think it's going to be a long one. Will you raise taxes?
Will I raise taxes? Okay, and that is, I think everybody wants to know about that.
A question for the
Okay, to me, raising taxes would be the absolute last thing I do. And the reason I say that is because I think raising taxes is not the answer. If you look at what happens, and I know in my neighborhood there's two people that are like right on the brink of, if there's one more tax raise, they're going to lose their home. Now, if you have a house going into foreclosure, now you're getting zero taxes for it. No one's paying their taxes if they're in foreclosure. And now you have 6 months to a year. They move out, turns into a blighted property. I know we have one right down the street from us, and it's terrible. So to me, that's the easy fix. Okay, let's raise taxes. Let's raise taxes. I would rather see more commercial development. I would rather see us being smart with our budgeting so that we didn't run a deficit after deficit after deficit. Again, raising taxes would be a last resort after everything else was exhausted. And right now, this particular council, I don't know if they understand what the word C-U-T, cut means cut. Nothing was cut, nothing. I sat there, I watched it. Anything get brought up, you couldn't get 9 votes to do anything to change it. So there were no cuts made in this budget. And that's a shame, because before you expect the taxpayers to shell out more, you should do your cutting first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you remember when he said he was going to hold everybody to the cuts, and then that just went away. He never ever held anybody to the cuts. So a lot of people are really concerned about the tax bill. They're really concerned about they think that there's going to be a third tax bill coming up, and they really want to know, do you think that that's even a possibility? I just read it just now. Do you think that's a possibility if you get in, that there will be a third tax bill to make up such a huge deficit that we have?
They can send out a special assessment. Now, there's also a situation with the motor vehicle taxes at the state. Because of this condition of the state, we're not sure where they're going to end up right now. So what happened was, instead of, I would have like sent out the tax bill at the worst case scenario, if you will. Instead, Ed sent it out, the mayor sent it out at the best case scenario. And I'm afraid that if the state doesn't reach a budget, there will be a supplemental motor vehicle tax bill. As far as real estate tax bill, I haven't heard anything about that, but that doesn't mean, again, we don't know where the state is going with that. I think that would be terrible, because people have budgets too. And most people stick to their budgets. And I think the city and the state need to start doing something like that as well. If we have to stick to our budgets, they need to stick to theirs. And if they don't give us what we're supposed to pay right up front so we can budget for it, how are people supposed to budget for everything else in their household?
Right. I mean, even as early as today, you have the report about Hartford possibly going bankrupt. Do you see that coming down the road here? Maybe the state taking us over? If we can't, I mean, we're in worse shape than Hartford. Let's be honest here. We saw the numbers that was posted, 16 million. Do you think that's a possibility here? I mean, are we too far gone, or could we get that back? Do you think?
I think a vote for Mayor O'Brien removes it from possibility to definitely happening, because he hasn't learned by his mistakes of his previous budgets, running deficits, hiring friends, giving lucrative $20,000 raises, which are 2 in this budget, and anybody can look the budget up online. It's in engineering and IT. And so I think that he doesn't, again, I don't think he understands that you can't keep spending more money than you have. If I were elected, as I said, and I have a platform online, I would implement hiring freezes, and freezes, as I said, go through the budget, try to save every possible dollar. And I would also look to others, people who are out there working in the city that have cost-saving ideas. I was already approached by somebody who, if I got in, wants to sit down with me and show me places where we can save money. I'm willing to listen to anyone, because if they have an idea, we should try it, or at least explore the idea.
Do you have any, well, a couple guys here were saying, do you have any specifics about what you think would be the areas that you would think about cutting? Is it, is it jobs? Is it services? Is it, what do you think? What specifics do you think?
Specifics. Again, cutting jobs for people, I think that's a tough one. I don't think that again, would be the first place I would go. I would look more at restructuring offices, whether it be corporation counsel. We have part-time attorneys in there that are in our benefits package. Every time you add a family to the insurance line item, you're opening up a huge expense. They work 20 hours a week, 20 to 25 hours a week. It might be better to have one full-time attorney and one person in benefits, or have 2 part-time attorneys only working 19 hours. I suggested this when Corporation Counsel came when I was on the city council, and no one wanted to explore it. It was like, no, we're not going to do that. No one will apply. Well, why don't we try it and see if somebody applies? Maybe there's an attorney that would apply, or a paralegal. We could also, that was one idea that was put into place, and I think it worked great. The paralegal that came in, he started as a part-time position. He's a full-time position, and they know most of the time as much as a lawyer. So there's absolutely no reason why we can't go with paralegals. There's ways of saving without cutting people out, but we have to look to every way, and I think we have to look to everyone to come up with ideas too, because one person doesn't know everything.
Okay. Speaking of that, cutting jobs and everything else, I have a question here. Let me find it. It said, will she put in writing that none of her friends or family or friends of anyone on her slate will be offered jobs during her tenure?
During my tenure.
You know that was going to come up.
Yeah, of course. And you know what? It's a very valid point. I am willing to speak for myself. I'm not speaking for my slate, but I have to believe that we have a wonderful slate, and I can honestly say that anybody who is running on my slate is not asked me for, if I get in, can they have a job? Can their family member have a job? They are working for the greater good of West Haven, and that's what I think makes my team different than any other team before, because they're all interested in West Haven and not themselves. As far as myself, I can guarantee I'll put it in writing, I'll get it notarized. I am not hiring any of my friends, my family, My family all has jobs. They don't need to come here to work. And I don't think they probably would want to work for me anyway. So no, as far as mine, I'll put it in writing and I'll have a notarized statement if that's what somebody would like to say.
All right, well, that's a no. See, there you got your question answered. Okay. Now, last couple of days I've been getting a bunch of calls about the high school. I've had a couple people I've talked to that are really concerned about that. So, high school, for it, against it, your thoughts on it?
Okay, absolutely for it. I was for it back in the day. The selling point for me was the fact when we were presented with all the figures and what the plans were. If it is going to cost us almost the same for renovate as new high school as fixing the old broken down building, I wanted to see the new high school. I believe our children and their families deserve that, and I think that that was the way to go. What I did not agree with was once Mayor O'Brien got in, holding the project. If he held it for a valid reason, there was some kind of problem or whatever, there were no problems other than he didn't particularly like the people that were on the building committee, the high school building committee. So he needed to get rid of anyone who he didn't like. And that took time. And I know because we were sitting on the city council when this happened and how he didn't want this one. We went back and forth with charter and this, that. At the end, Mayor O'Brien held the project up. The Gilbane representative said holding it up increased the cost. He not only increased the cost, but we lost 14 classrooms. Now he said they weren't any important rooms. I happen to think that a classroom is extremely important. I also believe that when the high school is finished with a beautiful brand new state-of-the-art high school, I think the students will come. So why wouldn't we have done it? If we had done it, it'd probably be half done by now, and we would have had our 14 classrooms and a lower price. So to answer the question, yes, I was in favor of it, still am in favor of it. I went to the, when they did the shovel in the ground with the hard hats on, I did all of that. I went there to watch it myself because I was the finance chair when it was brought through and started, and I'm glad that it's being started. It's just a shame that the taxpayers have to pay more for less.
So Michelle just writes, staying on the high school, Michelle writes, what would you change about the high school project as it seems that you were not happy with the changes?
I wasn't happy with the new design that removed 14 classrooms.
Right.
As far as now, when I get in, I mean, I would have to go and see how the design is now, because now they have it all designed and everything else, and supposedly they're starting it, but I'm hearing that the actual construction and everything isn't going to start until late fall now. They did the groundbreaking, but that was more for, you know, PR thing. It doesn't look like much is getting done down there. I don't know how much I can change after the fact, but if I had been in, it would have gone along with the building committee. I wouldn't have cared whose sign was on their lawn or who they supported. It would have gone in the way it was supposed to go in, the way council after council voted for it, and it would have probably been halfway done by now.
Okay. That's a good question. Okay. Would you be open to performing an independent audit for each city department in support of implementing spending controls and removing duplicity in department roles?
Okay. An independent audit by an outside auditor?
It just says, would you be open to performing an independent audit for each city department in support of implementing spending control and removing duplicity in department roles? So, in other words, will you go through line by line?
Oh,
by
absolutely.
department?
Me, myself, I'm always worried about the cost of hiring an outside auditor because
Well,
they
probably
don't
you
come
yourself.
cheap.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But absolutely I would, and I have a great friend in Michael Last who has a lot of accounting knowledge as well and financial knowledge, and I'm sure he would help me and others on my ticket. So absolutely, I would go through line by line of the budget. I would love, if I was able to get in, I think the first thing I'd probably do is pull, you know, all the records, we call it a general ledger, to have open access to the books. Finally, I really believe I could do something.
I agree with that. And, you know, and I always said, I've been saying this for a while, and you guys seen it on the page, is somebody's got to be the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to step up and make. We can't always, you know, take care of our election promises. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to be the bad guy and stop this. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to be the bad guy and stop this and make it? You know, we got to get it better.
I am definitely willing to be the bad guy, and just so everybody knows, the first vote that I had, and I always remember this, I was brand new to the city council back in 2005, and they brought forward, actually it was for checkers, and I was in favor of the forensic audit, but it didn't go out to bid. And I went down on the wrong end, brand new council person, 12-1. Didn't care, wasn't gonna go for a no bid right out of the gate. So I have no problem standing up for what I believe in, and anybody who knows me knows that. I will definitely fight tooth and nail for this city if I get elected.
I think everybody in this room's seen that live in a city council meeting or two. Only one standing there by yourself sometimes. Okay, how do you feel about putting police and fire department new hires back into the pension to stop the revolving door of officers after investing in their training for 6+ months?
I don't think anyone fought harder, other than probably the police department, for their pension than I did. We sent it back. Unfortunately, the problem is now, when they got out of the pension and went into the 401k plan, they were now eligible to participate in Social Security. Anybody who doesn't know, that means that they take it out of your pay, as all of us have, but the employer pays it as well. So that means the city of West Haven now is paying 6.2% up to the cap on each and every new police officer that's in Social Security. So the first thing you would have to do is find out, once in Social Security, are you always in Social Security? I'm in favor of looking at it and doing something to retain our police officers. And training for them to leave. And there's not, and I can't say I blame them. They have a very dangerous job, and they have to take care of their families first. That being said, I would definitely work with the police and the police union and see if we could come up to some kind of plan. One of the ideas that I had, even back with the pension, and when I say I fought for the pension, I didn't want the pension the way it was. The pension was antiquated and outdated. It allowed you to retire after. It didn't make any difference what age you were. As long as you had 20 years in or 25 years, you would get X amount of dollars for the rest of your life, or your spouse would. I think that that's not fair. It's not fair to the rest of the public, and the reason I say that is because the rest of us, if we open IRAs or 401ks, there's a severe penalty and tax implications if you withdraw that money before 59 and a half, unless there's the exemptions that they have. So that being said, if we had just done a study to take a look at what would happen if you made the pension not available until 59 and a half, you could leave at 40, you could leave at 45, but you're not collecting $1 of that pension until you're 59 and a half. That's one of the things you could do. The other is make them work longer. There were all kinds of avenues of changing the bottom line. I understand about how pensions work, and I know no one wants to be in the pension business and all of that. But with the police department, we are spending more now with them coming and going, like a revolving door here. And not only for the money part, but I don't like the idea of people won't get to know their officer. If their officer's in their neighborhood, they won't know their officer. If you only stay in 6 months, you don't have a vested interest. I also think you can't make them live in West Haven, but you can maybe pay a stipend if they move back, or increase something, a small amount, do something. I think it's better, the police officers that want to stay here, because they share our taxes. You'll see them in supermarkets, you'll see them out and about at games and sports. I would like to see the police back in West Haven. Now, you can't force them, that's already been challenged, and you cannot force them to live in West Haven, but I think there's alternate routes of getting something positive here.
That's great. I mean, I know a lot of officers myself, and personal friends with them, and I tell you, they are overworked and underpaid. They really do a fantastic job for us, especially the changing we're having going on in the city now. I mean, they are constantly working, and they really deserve, to be treated as such. So, okay. Next question. Savin Rock Conference Center. Should we sell it, refurbish it, work it with a working kitchen to make it profitable, or something else? What are you thinking about that?
Selling it, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't even have to think about that twice. Who would sell an asset on the beach, on the water? And especially, I don't even know what they're looking to sell it for. In fact, Mr. McNabola, our finance director, had asked me that once at a council meeting. And I told him only an idiot would sell that property. I don't believe in selling that. I just don't. Now, obviously, it needs some tender loving care. I think that one idea I've heard from people is put it out to bid, to maybe have a management company come in, pay us X amount of dollars per year, give us, a few freebies, like for the plunge or different activities we have, so we don't have to pay, our own. And then the first year, maybe not get as much, so that they could put some money into it, because it definitely needs some money. But it is a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful place to have an event. I know, because I've had several events there. It's a gorgeous place. We have a gorgeous beach. Why would we sell an asset? I think that's the short-sighted things. We sell schools, we sell assets. You don't usually start selling off assets as a way to balance your budget. That's the wrong approach.
So do you think we should take it over and flourish it into an event center, or what are you thinking?
I think, again,
in other words, invest money into it and bring it back to something great, or?
Well, I would like to see it back to something great, but again, we don't have money really to invest. So at that point in time, it may be better to go and as I said, put it out to bid and see who wants to come in, because again, it's a beautiful place, and you could have 3 rooms going at the same time on the shore. There's a deck out there, there's a gazebo, you can get married, you can renew your vows, any type of thing.
As long as we still own it.
Mm-hmm. As long as we still own it,
right.
But to sell it, and we have to remember, and I think the price was $6 million, because it was many years ago, and they're not even talking about, I've heard like $3 million thrown around, or a couple of million. Absolutely not. A couple of million for that building and that piece of property? Absolutely not.
Right, okay. Sticking on that, here's another question. Does she think that there's an opportunity for dialogue with the land trust to enable some modest development along the shoreline? It seems the Sandy Hook Playground was a debacle and was an example of them overstepping their authority. So do you think that you could work with them to kind of start to develop something there, or do you think it's just a lost cause?
Well, the first thing is everyone thinks the land trust covers the whole beach, and it really doesn't. It's a small area up by Bradley Point. And so, again, I would have a problem building anything on Bradley Point. I absolutely would.
I agree.
We have put memorial bricks in there. I think it would be an insult to anybody who honored a veteran to, say, oh, sorry, we're going to dig it up now. Tough luck for you. I think that wouldn't be fair. I was on the city council when the land trust passed. It passed in my first term, 05 to 07. I don't know exactly where the boundaries are, but it is not the length of the beach. I think that we should look to other avenues. I don't know why everybody always concentrates on that one small area. I know it doesn't go as far as like Jimmy's, because Jimmy has his own parking lot and does his own thing. So this is what I'm saying. I don't even know if it goes. I know the conference center, it may encompass that, but it doesn't go the length of the beach. So there's still plenty of places, as we talked about before, Beach Street and all of that, because I would like to see some development.
I thought it went in those open areas between Surfside and Jimmy's, those areas. I thought those were all land trusts. Maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah, and you know what? I will do my best to try to get them, because there is a map. I'm sure there's a map. There was a map when we passed it, where it went. And I was kind of surprised, because everybody talks like it's from, where Captain's Galley is all the way, the whole 4-mile stretch of beach, and it's not. And again, I would like to see, especially where, the memorial is, Bradley Point. I don't think that should be dug up and developed. I absolutely do not.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Many people say that you are more of the same, or Picard 2.0. What is your response to that?
Anybody who knows me knows. I am my own person. I will argue with you to a fault if I think I'm doing right by somebody, and that's all there is to it. And I believe in fighting for what I believe in, and I don't apologize for that, because I grew up with a father that they all had sayings, and squeaky wheel gets the grease, and I do believe that. I would, believe you me, when I ran, and people who know I ran for mayor before, and I'll never forget it, because I was sitting outside and a friend of mine went by and they said, oh, too bad you lost. If you won, Nance, everybody would know there's a new sheriff in town. And no finer words were ever spoken, because I believe you, it will not be business as usual, not even close. We will do things differently. We will be transparent. If somebody wants a document, you won't have to go to Hartford to get it. There's no reason, if it's a releasable document, that it's not released here. We shouldn't play, we should have our council meetings taped, put on, Hampton does it. put on television. People can't get to the meetings. That doesn't mean they're interested. It means they're busy and they have lives, or they have children, or they have a job, whatever their thing is. They should not be shut out. And I think the Board of Ed, City Council, and P&Z to start are the three major things that go on here. There's other ones too, Police Commission, Allentown Fire District, because people would be surprised what goes on at those meetings, so televising might tone it down a little bit. But the thing is I believe in transparency, and I have always vigorously fought for FOI and the rules. I've been certified in it. I went to classes for it, and I think that transparency is very, very, very important. So no, I don't believe I'd be the same. I am my own person.
Great. Okay, so in recent couple weeks here, we've had a couple things about about spending, about the mayor's spending and everything. And somebody asks, will you lower the mayor's $60,000 recreation budget and install a per diem item on meals?
Per diem item. First off, I don't know if I would, in other words, it would be for me. I can tell you right now, if I went out and had a meal, I have my own credit card, I have my own money, I would not. You're getting paid a salary. And so to me, if you're getting paid a salary, that's what your salary is for. You're not there to, I mean, we're a very poor city. Spending money on meals or that type of thing. In fact, and I've been hearing that I wouldn't be able to do this, but I really don't see any reason why I would need the car. I have my own car, pay for my own gas now, would be no different. It's like going to work now. So, but I don't know legally if I would be allowed to do that, but I would definitely, I would give the car, if I could, and once elected in there, I would gladly give the car to the police department that is in so desperate need of cars, my understanding is. So why should the taxpayer have to pay for my gas and my car? I pay for my own now for my job, and as far as I'm concerned, if I thought that I had excess mileage, I'd take it on my tax return at the end of the year as a deduction, business expense.
Okay, that's a great answer. Let's see. What are your thoughts about the train station and development around it?
The train station, I would like to see development around it. I don't want to see affordable housing around it. That's big for me. I went, and I know that I've read someplace that the mayor said he never said that. I think it was this voice that he never said that. Well, I went to the Charette. I hope I pronounced that right. Actually, I went both nights to the Charette.
You're right.
And all they talked about was housing, affordable housing, housing. That's all they talked about. In fact, that was the first time that we met who's opposing my 3rd district person, Aaron Charney. He showed up there, and he was all for it at that time. I don't know if he's changed his position now, because that was a couple of years ago. I believe that when you look at, I like to look at Milford, and I like to look at Branford. They are models of something I think good, and I think that we can, you don't have to do everything like them, but I think we can take some ideas from them. They have water, they have a green. Milford, we have water, we have a green. Why can't our green, our city, look like that one? It can't, but we have to start one step at a time and invest and do something. Sitting around putting in affordable housing is not going to increase our tax base or give any kind of relief to the real estate owners. It's just not.
Right. We have a great green. We have a great everything. I mean, a lot of people are worried about, you've seen people talking about that train station can utilize so much better inside and outside. I mean, so far nothing's happened around there, so people are just concerned that that's the way it's going to be, or we're just going to get these high rises. I was at the Charette also, and you're exactly right.
Right.
That's pretty much all they talked about for two whole days.
And
now they're saying that Orange is going to get a train station. Now, if they get a train station,
oh, they're definitely getting one. And the plans that I've heard for Orange is they're going to have a private company put up a parking garage there as well. So right now ours, and see again, this is something we could explore. I mean, we have an opportunity with Armstrong Building, which has not been taken care of, as we all know. They drive by there every day. It hasn't been taken care of. So we have an opportunity to do something great right by our train station. It's a golden opportunity. And I don't understand why that hasn't been developed. Mr. Riccio spoke at a recent Rotary meeting and didn't really get into why it hasn't been developed. So I think that would be a great place. You could put a lot of commercial development in there, things that people would cross the street maybe to go and see. And as far as inside the train station, it's interesting. Supposedly they put out to bid a food truck thing, but my understanding is that I've heard, and I don't know if it's true, that it didn't really go anywhere because they only want 4 to 8 or whatever. You look at any other train station, if you want to get a drink, it's not only the people that take the train between 4 and 8. It's like all day. So I understand that's a state thing, but I think we need to speak with the state and see what we can do there, because it's ridiculous to go into a train station and you can't get anything to drink, eat, other than maybe a vending. I think they put a vending. It's a beautiful station. Sure. It's absolutely beautiful. I've been in there several times. It's gorgeous. But I sincerely think that we should do something so that you could get something, or maybe you want a sandwich or whatever.
Yep. Something quick in the morning. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you see the parking lot's completely full all the time. Yeah. Both sides. Mm-hmm. All right. This is going to be a nice loaded question, so this might take you a little while. What are your visions for the center and the economic development of the area around the center? Because right now our center is dismal.
Yes, so. I expect to see a piece of tumbleweed rolling down the middle. That's what I think of. It is dismal, and it could be so much better. I mean, I love the idea that the physical therapy place is still there, because without that, I don't know what else would be there in City Hall. I think that we could, again, I've heard people say they'd love to see a Panera Bread down there, restaurants, different things. We have a library there. We have employees in City Hall. That was always supposed to be the brainchild of bringing the Board of Ed into the City Hall. Not only to save money, but to bring, foot traffic down to our center. Mm-hmm. But now there's no place to go down there. The dollar store. I know that there's a bar, and I haven't been there yet, but I heard that the place is nice and has good food. The one that opened right there. What's the name of the bar that's down?
Stevie B's?
That one.
Yeah.
I've heard that that's good. So
I don't know.
I'm not. I haven't been in there, so I don't know. Not yet, anyway. But there really isn't much else really down there. There's a couple little restaurants that I hope they're surviving, because I do see some foot traffic there, but the rest of it's vacant, or as I said, the dollar store. So I think that we need to get some development down there. And again, until we can balance our budget and until our finances look like we're not the poorest place going, it's hard to get people interested, because they figure, okay, we're paying taxes, maybe they won't come, whatever the reason is, and they opt for someplace else. We have to start marketing ourselves better. Whether it be,
how would you do that?
Site plans, talking yourself up. My understanding is that a site plan visit was the reason that Sheldon Gordon came here in the first place about the Havens with the previous mayor, John Picard. So that should really already, like you said, be up. So that would have been a win had it been done correctly, or taken care of correctly the last 4 years. So I think you have to market yourself. You want to sell yourself? It's like when you go on an interview. What do? You dress up, you look your best or whatever. We're not bringing anybody in. And we have a city that could be so much more. We do have a beautiful shore. We have wonderful people here. We absolutely do. We could make sure that it thrives.
So how do we market ourselves better? How do you think we because a couple people are saying that. How do you think we market ourselves better? How do you think we make ourselves more attractive to have businesses say, yes, I want to come and invest money there, and I want to have people come and spend money at our place, and I want to stay in West Haven, I want to build a foundation in West Haven. How do you think that's going to happen? How do you put yourself out there to make that happen?
Okay, first thing, as I said, site plan. Marketing is a lot of different things. You look at the way that our city is now. We have a lot of blighted properties, and you start with, it's terrible to say, but I've heard comments that Beach Street resembles Beirut. I mean, now when people are saying that, you're not going to, why would you come here? So we have to start cleaning up what we have. And I mean, whether it's blighted properties, we need to start enforcing our blight ordinance. If it's not strong enough, then make it stronger. But no one wants to move in a business or a homeowner buying a house if 2 or 3 houses on the street are foreclosed upon, that are HUD and they're overgrown and they're dirty and everything else. So to market yourself better, we have to start cleaning up our own backyard. Again, back to the same thing. Would you go in a dirty t-shirt for a job interview that you wanted? No. You're going to put on your best clothes and put your best foot forward. It's the same thing with West Haven. We have to clean up our act, clean up our streets, clean up our finances, and start bringing people in for site tours, looking around, okay, this could be this could be that. There's all different things. As I said, Sheldon Gordon came here because of that, and that was his reason for coming here. So if he came here, somebody else would come. And all we need are a couple businesses to come in.
A couple keystone business,
Right,
absolutely.
and once somebody sticks their toe in the water, I believe others will come, because I think it will be successful. As I said, we have, I mean, we try very hard, my husband and I, to spend our money in West Haven. We go out to eat most of the time. I'm not saying we don't go outside of West Haven most of the time. I mean, we'll go to Lorenzo's, we'll go to Biaggetti's, we go to Apps. I mean, we go to the restaurants here to support our own. That's what we need to do. And if we had, again, a cleaner city, because that's all I'm hearing is how dirty everything is. We need to have it cleaned up. And it starts, at home.
Yeah, sure,
It really
absolutely.
does.
I know, and I know they put a lot of emphasis on the police really enforcing that, the blight, but, we do have a blight officer for that, so, it's gotta, there's so much that you really have to put an emphasis on someone taking care, that's your job, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Not, everybody passes the buck, well, I'm busy, I can't do it, I got this to do, I'm busy. So, if we do that, I think, I also think that, as my own person, I think that Silvers is a really cornerstone of, you got a good business in there, you'll flourish off that. That's what I think. I mean,
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. It is a cornerstone. That's our anchor story, if you will. And we need something positive there to bring people in. And I think we can do that. I absolutely do. But until, as I said, we start doing citywide and letting everyone know we are open for business. We want you here. We're welcoming you. I think that I believe it is possible.
Okay. All right, let me get back to the questions because we got off a little bit. What is your take on why all the finance committee meetings were canceled over the past year? I mean, there's been a bunch of them, and our finances are probably problem one in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the meetings constantly canceled? Why can't we get those together and work that out?
Now, are you talking about finance committee or finance board?
Finance committee meetings.
Okay, finance committee meeting. Because everybody, and it's not, I don't want to say everybody because I don't paint everybody with the same brush, but most of the people have their own, their marching orders, and I don't see any wavering. I mean, when I've gone to many council meetings, I've gone to many budget meetings. As I said, there's very little done. Unfortunately, it's work to go to meetings. It's work to invest your time and energy into this. I mean, we were at meetings until 11, 12 o'clock many nights. And for whatever reason, I have to believe that is part of it. That being said, that's up to the finance chair. The finance chair is Chairwoman Tracy Morrissey, and quite frankly, she did do the budget meetings.
Mm-hmm.
She did, but then after that, I agree. I don't think I've seen any finance committee meetings scheduled. There should be they do them in the middle of the council meeting a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sometimes they're posted, sometimes they're not, sometimes Mr. McNabola shows up, sometimes not. So
is that something you would be a stickler for as far as, because finances are really, really important. Is that something you would be a stickler for and make sure that happens if you get elected?
Absolutely. My belief is, even if the finance chair was somebody who didn't want to have meetings, as the mayor, you can call a special meeting. I believe the finance, and this is one thing, I know that Dick Legg got, different views, but I'll say one thing that I know that he did right. He was at every council meeting. It was very, very rare that he wasn't there when he was the finance director. I think it's at every possible council meeting, just in case something comes up. No one knows. You can't anticipate what's going to come up. So I think it's important. Plus, then the finance director knows what's going on and what the public has to say.
We want to know what's going on, too.
Exactly. So do I, believe me. And a lot of times you don't get any answers. A lot of questions, but no answers.
All right. Next question. Would you be willing to end fringe benefits for non-union city employees?
What type of fringe
It
benefits?
says this entitles non-union employees to receive the same level of benefits as unionized employees.
I think that is a resolution. It was changed once back, the first term again that I was in, and I absolutely think it needs to be revisited. And the reason I say this is because, again, there's unions. Union members pay dues for representation. And then people sit on the negotiating team. Well, they're negotiating their own raises even though they're not part of the union. I do have a problem with that. So I would definitely, that would be something that I would bring forward, and the resolution definitely would need to be changed.
Okay. This guy says, a few things I would like to see addressed are term limits for city council and the extension of a mayor's term from 2 years to 4 years. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea, but it's nothing the mayor can do on their own.
Right.
Another thing that I would do, and this would be probably by the first or second council meeting, I would send a letter to to be put on the agenda to implement the beginning of charter revision. Our charter, the last time it was revised was 2009. Very few things were done in it, and I would like to see more. First off, with the idea that, you know, if you end up with, you don't have 7 votes to pass a budget, it goes in by default. That gives the mayor a free pass just to do what they want and not work with anybody because it's going in by default. There are many, many, many things in that budget that need, or in that charter that need to be changed. And so charter revision takes probably almost the better part of 2 years. It takes a year, a few months to get the charter revision members together. Then they have several meetings. The city council would challenge them with changes. Then they have to come back to the city council to have it voted on. And then it goes as questions on the ballot. So I think it's very, very important. I think we need to bring the charter up to where we are. And there are many, many things that need to be changed in it. So implementing charter revision, and that's where term limits would be changed.
That was my next question, charter revision. You answered that two in one. You banged it up.
Twofer.
We got a twofer. All right. Let's see. Would you commit to getting cameras working in the city council chambers and possibly working with a local TV affiliate to record televised meetings to make them available online? You know, Erin Stewart and New Breton, she does it every council meeting. She does it. She does a little thing beforehand. She does it afterwards. I mean, a lot of people in this town, as well as you know, can't make the meetings. You know, either they're physically unable or they're busy, and they want to see what's going on. They want to be involved, but unless you go down there, everybody says, "Oh, why don't you show up for a meeting?" Well, guess what? A lot of us can't. We work.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think a lot of the towns around us do it. I mean, you can go on YouTube and everybody has it. Everybody has city council meetings. And I've gotten a couple letters from the IT guy, David Richards, that's his name, saying that they're looking into it, and you know the money's not there. I mean, it doesn't take that much to do, and it's really something that I think would really keep everybody involved. And that's the whole thing of this, is to get everybody involved. You want everybody knowing. You want everybody to know what's going on, and we don't have that now unless you actually physically get down there, and a lot of people can't do that. So is that something that you would do?
Absolutely. I think, as I said earlier, the city council, board of ed, and P&Z meetings, they're very important to our city, especially P&Z. P&Z is very important. It decides, what's approved, what's not, as far as zoning and all of that. So I believe that they should be televised. I think everybody should have a right to see what's going on in their city.
So you would definitely push for getting cameras in there and getting that done.
I was the first one to start it. I remember my husband got thrown out a couple of times in the beginning when he brought the camera.
I know Bart Chatter is another one. He's in there always wanting the cameras too, so he's another one.
Yeah, no, that definitely, I agree with part of that. You know, you gotta have cameras. I mean, this
absolutely.
way then, I think things would change if cameras are on.
Right, okay. This is a kind of, so it says you got a lot of new people and names on your ticket, which you do, a lot of first timers, which is good. It seems that we have the same people in the same elected positions for over a decade in some cases. Do you think having new faces and ideas will benefit West Haven?
Yes, and that's why. And we have, I think, a nice blend of people who have been on the council or in different positions politically, and those who are brand new. I think it's hard to bring in everybody new that's never been involved in this before. That makes it difficult. So I think we have a great blend of professionals, and as I said earlier, a great blend of people that they're not in it for themselves. They're in it for making West Haven a better place, a West Haven that everybody can be proud of again. And so absolutely, I think that new faces, new ideas. I mean, but I think like they say with friends, one's silver, the other's gold. Make new friends, keep the old. Same thing with, I think, a nice blend would be good. I really do.
Fresh faces are always good. Fresh ideas are always good. I mean, the same ideas. I mean, we are where we are now because of the same ideas.
Absolutely.
And somebody with a fresh idea might make a difference in this town. we already went over the Havens project. Somebody's asking about that. So somebody wants to know about your thoughts on absentee landlords. How should we keep them accountable for properties and renters? Because we have a lot of properties of absentee landlords now in this town, as you know. How would you keep them accountable for keeping up their properties and not being so blighted?
I have to tell you, and this was not my idea, but I was actually at the city council meeting, the most recent one, and a gentleman got up, and I love the idea he came up with. I don't know if I'd go with $5,000 because it's a lot, but what you would do is get their information first. You have to know how to contact them. And they would have to put forward a bond. And every time something went wrong there or whatever, they would take it out of this bond, and then each year you'd have to make that bond whole again. Mm-hmm. I think hitting them in the pocketbook would make them maintain their properties, because if every time you turned around you were shelling out, $1,000, $2,000 because violations, the police had to come 40 times for whatever reason, you were doing things you weren't supposed to be doing. I think that works. So I don't remember the gentleman's they both sat in the front row, and they both were in agreement because they have a lot of problems with absentee landlords right around the area where they were, and that's what and he said, and I loved it. I got to tell you, it was great. He goes, I'm not only identifying a problem, I've come here with a solution. And I thought the solution was great. You tweak it some, but there has to be a consequence. If there's no consequence, they're going to keep doing it. Okay.
Somebody wants to know here, I only have one more question here, so I'm going to go off some of the questions here. Somebody wants to know will you think it will increase the police force? Do you think it's needed? Do you think we have enough officers? Do you think we should put more services as far as that goes?
I don't know about more officers. I think we would have to take a look at everything. I know one thing I would do. I would be a very involved in the community mayor, and I would expect the police chief and the deputy chief to be along with me. And you go around and you ride around the streets and you look for the problematic areas. I mean, I've been walking door to door, as my team has, and you're hearing about drugs in areas and nobody's showing up and nobody's caring. That's the kind of thing, again, that is going to fester and spread and spread and spread and not make our city a nice place to be. So I think a mayor that's very active in the community is very, very important. I think a mayor needs to be out there. I think the police chief and the deputy chief needs to be out, take a ride around, let's see what's going on, let's go to different sections. If you went out once a week, I'm not saying you have to go out every day, but you have to be cognizant of what's going on around you. So I don't know if it would be necessary to have more police.
Just be more involved.
Yeah, right now it's hard enough retaining the ones we have. So I don't know if it would be, but what we would definitely, it's something that would be explored, because people, education, public safety, 2 reasons why people either come to a community or leave a community.
Okay. Like I said, I'm just going off of questions here. Somebody wants to know about this, going back to the Havens. Somebody wants to know about the scope of the Havens. Do you think a high-end wall is what we need here? Or do you think it's something more reasonable is what we can use if we get the mall at all? I mean, they say we're going to get it. I hope we do. I hope they raise that area and bring everything up. Do you think a super-duper high-end wall is what we need there? Or do you think something more that the general public can use more is something?
Well, again, I know that a lot of people are complaining about the high-end mall. In fact, tonight even, the ladies I were talking to said, I'm not even going to be able to shop there. The position it was, again, because I was on the council for this, and there were restaurants and things that the rest of us could go, because I was looking forward to going to one of the restaurants on the water. But I think that the problem is that they've already got one thing set, so we could go and maybe explore it if the Havens doesn't happen. But right now, they do have their municipal development plan in place. I do believe that the reason that they were going with the high end is because there are other places that are high end, that bus trips and that type of thing. So they were figuring it would bring people into the city. But I know, again, if you look online, the internet and all of that. So I think we're going to have to wait and see, first off, because if the Havens is going to go forward, which I haven't really seen any bulldozers down there. I don't know. I haven't been down there.
No, there's no bulldozers down there, that's for sure.
I'm sure it'll be on Facebook as soon as there are.
There's fences. That's all. There's fences up. That's for sure.
But I think that if what they plan for the Havens doesn't happen, I think we would have to reevaluate. What people don't understand, though, is that the city no longer owns that land. So, we would have the same zoning to dictate certain things.
Reevaluate how?
Well, in other words, they would have to come up with a new plan, and then it would have to go through all the channels like P&Z and all of that to get approval. Because the city doesn't own that land, so we can't say, well, we want this or we want that. It's up to our P&Z rules and what they come up with. In other words, if this doesn't happen and somebody reinvents the wheel down there, okay, we want to see something else, it would have to go back through, the same channels.
Right, because right now, we don't have any info on what's going in there. We're kind of kept in the dark. I know they said, at the charrette, they said they were gonna, not the charrette, the meeting with Havens at the high school, they wouldn't tell us till 3 months beforehand. So, that's kind of the frustration that the regular people like us are. We don't know what's going on. We don't, a lot of people say, oh, it's because of the 4 holdouts, which is, I'm sure that held it up a little bit. Which is, that's what you get for, you announce it early.
Yeah.
You don't get the property first. That's what happens. People hold out. When people get greedy, that's just what happens. But, I think the being in the dark is more of the frustration as far as the public goes, because it's been 4 years. We haven't seen one shovel in the ground yet.
I know. And we don't see a fence except at primary time or election time. So that's the only time there seems to be activity there. My thing is I understand there were 3 or 4 holdouts, and supposedly that's all been settled. But I guess, and I'm not a builder, so maybe I'm wrong and somebody can correct me, but I don't understand why we couldn't do anything down there in time. We have boarded up, houses, we had no demolition, no nothing. There should have been something, something could have been done. It's a huge piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Huge.
So here's another one that's going to be kind of controversial. This came in from a guy named Les. What are your plans about the 3 fire departments in West Haven? That's a huge, huge thing, and you know that, and I know that for years and years now. So what are your plans? What are your thoughts on 3 fire departments? Consolidation, no consolidation?
Okay, I am in favor of 1 fire department. I grew up in Bridgeport, we have 1 fire department. They are already using mutual aid behind the scenes. I don't know who knows that, but helping one another if there's fire, medical emergency, whatever. What they haven't done is, they have 3 separate, books, if you will. The problem is, Allentown is under the city. The other 2 fire departments are independent. A mayor cannot make them come under the city or to congregate together and have a fire department. Their own voters have to do that. So at their annual meeting, it would have to be similar to what happened in Allentown, that they voted to go under the city or start a fire department. And that's what would have to be. Would I like to see 1 fire department? Absolutely. Can I make them do it?
No.
No. But you can talk and try to keep again, a lot of it's about communication. You can't go in there and tell them what to do, but you can see where maybe if everybody sat down and talked about it, maybe they've had enough and would like 1 fire department.
But I think the reservation of that, just to add to you, is, look at the other 2 fire departments. Look what happened in Allentown. The city took it over. So
I know.
They got rid of the chief. Chief's been there forever. So I think that's the frustration of trying to give the city that it's such the inability to run the department that we don't want to be stuck with with 1 fire department that we can do whatever we want now. So I think that's where the fire people are.
Absolutely. And honestly, I don't know legally how this could be done, but if they all wanted to consolidate and build that way into 1, I really don't think it should be under the city. And case in point of what happened to Allentown. People that don't know anything about fire service are making decisions on how the residents of Allentown get their fire service. And I think that's wrong. You need experts. I don't know anything about how to put a fire out. I wouldn't want to be telling somebody how to do it or how to administer medical treatment or anything. I really believe we should leave that to the professionals, which are the firefighters and the chiefs, and to decide, and their commissioners. So that being said, if we do, and again, it could go either way. Now that Allentown's under the city, I don't know if they could be removed or that type of thing. But I think ideally, I would like to see 1 fire department and not under the city.
Okay. I think we're going to wrap this up. I have 1 more question for you. We'll make it a lighthearted one since we've been nailing you all night here. What is your idea on the recreation in the city as far as fields and different programs for kids? You have grandson, everybody else here has kids. So what do you think about that? Something like that.
My grandson is in Seahawks. Let's give a plug for Seahawks.
Yes.
That's where he went to tonight. I think that idle time is not good for children. I think they should be kept busy. I think the fields, Actually, though, the parks and the fields, again, I think we can work harder to keep them cleaned and maintained. And again, this is no reflection, and I did write this, and I believe it is in the voice, it's no reflection on the workers, but if they don't have the right, stuff to do, the right equipment, everything that they need, and are pulled off of jobs to go do something else, they need to be, able to take care and do what they know how to do, and that's clean up the parks. And as far as recreation, I would love to see more. In fact, again, we're talking about this tonight with some of the women, and I really do believe that we should have more for children to do, whether it's after school, something to keep them busy. Don't keep them busy and they're hanging out in the corner, problems are going to happen. So I'm all for increasing it. How we could do that, once again, that's something that I already have volunteers that if I get in, they want to help clean up the city, they want to develop things. There's a lot of people anxious to get involved. There really are.
I had a couple conversations with a guy from Park Rec. He had a great idea. He was going to take Thompson School. They're going to make that a rec center, basketball court in there, rooms for arts and everything else for after school. They go there, everything worked out, and of course we know what happened. It got sold for $10, and that was the end of that whole thing. But it was a great idea, and it's just a shame that things like that go away, because that kind of thing is a quality of life thing that really brings the community closer together, somewhere they can drop their kids off, they all play together.
Absolutely.
So.
And to your point, there's something on the city council agenda that was brought up briefly at the last meeting. There's a 3-acre piece of land. It's called Northfield. It's not technically Allentown, but it's right on the border. It's right by, if you stood in front of the old ShopRite, it's right to the right of that.
Oh, North End Field.
Right, North End
Yeah,
Field.
North End Field, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is that that's a huge field. Well, now it's on the city council agenda, and I'm sure it didn't go out to bid because nobody said it did, and the usual practice around here is that doesn't happen. And so what they want to do now is lease it to UNH now for parking. Now, the thing is they want the lease to be 20 years. That's a long time. A very long time. So I think, again, we should explore. And what I mean by explore is I understand UNH needs parking, I got it. But why do they have to take the whole field? Why can't they build maybe half of it a parking garage and then maybe donate some kind of park equipment, something, so that the youth down there has somewhere to go, play, whatever, because there really aren't any parks, down by around ShopRite and in that particular area that I know of. And if there are, they're small parks. They're not anything with, there's nothing like a painter park. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And actually, I went to a beautiful place that my running mate, Mr. Vargo, told me about in Woodbridge. And the playground there is absolutely beautiful. And it looks as though it was done with a lot of donations. There's bricks with donations. There's who donated this, who donated that. It was very nice, a very enjoyable place to bring my grandson. So it's a shame that I have to go outside of our city. I mean, I've taken him to Painter Park too, but to look at something new, why can't we have it here again?
A great one.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Why can't we have
a
it?
fantastic one. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. All right, I lied. We're gonna do one more question because this is a good one. What are your thoughts on UNH and the current administration calling Allentown a college town now, where they're kind of taking over Allentown and buying up everything? Do you think it's a good thing for UNH to flourish over there and pretty much buy everything up? I mean, the Atwood's a great addition. It's a great building. It looks very nice. I mean, but it's all UNH. Right. We don't get much taxes from it right now. So what do you think about UNH pretty much overtaking Allentown?
Well, again, I think, the first problem with UNH taking over as much as they did is the parking, because I've heard from people that you have to leave like 2 hours early to try to find a parking space. So that's problematic for the students in and of itself. I mean, how do you go to school if you can't park? You have to be able to get there. And I'm talking about commuters mostly that still go there. I mean, what's planned for it, it looks nice. It depends on how it ends up. Right now, it's taxable property, and it has a tax abatement, though, and that's the unfortunate part. So it'll be like probably at least 7 years, because it goes down 10% each year. There was no negotiation on that. It was given by the commissioner from planning and development. He just kind of gave it to the council, and you vote it up or you vote it down type of thing. So again, if it ends up non-taxable property down there, and I'm understanding there was a law passed, but so far nobody has given me this law, so maybe somebody out there can bring it up. But there was a
I'm
law.
sure they will.
There was a law that was passed, and it only applies to colleges, that if something is on the tax rolls, if they buy it now, and this is a relatively new law, it has to stay on the tax rolls. So again, at least if we knew we were gonna get tax money in, it would be something to revitalize it. I have a problem, and I said it on the record, and I say it right here, I had a problem with taking the Allentown Library parking lot. Allentown Library is utilized. That section of town needs the Wi-Fi. They put like hotspots. The new director has done some great things with the library. And I think it's not fair to expect them to park across the street. They took the parking lot, never went out to bid or anything, no request for proposals.
Yep.
And now there's gonna be nowhere to park. And their temporary solution is to park where the Forest Theater was and cross Forest Road. Now, I can't imagine bringing 2 children across Forest Road if I was handicapped, had a problem, couldn't walk, whatever the situation, snow, ice, whatever. That's the plan. That's only gonna be for 2 years. What's gonna happen afterwards? So again, I guess I have a problem with no one wants to like share. It's like, I want it all and that's it. Why couldn't they share? Why couldn't it be that either the developer builds a library, if they want to, say they want the Allentown Library, they want the parking lot, why can't they replace something on their project with it? Whether it be a parking lot, a new library. Invest in the city. So you just can't come and take.
Right.
You have to invest in the people. And you know, Allentown's always, not always, most of the time gets the short end of the stick. And it seems like they come in and just do whatever they want, and that's it, and that bothers me.
So you don't agree with the tax abatement of the buildings and the businesses over there, or you do it?
I have not a problem with giving a tax abatement. What I have a problem with is, why do you give the highest? Why is it 70%? No negotiation. Once you give it to one like that, you're signing away, because you can't treat people unfairly. I don't think so. So you can't say, well, you open a business, you're getting 70%, but somebody else opened a business, we're not giving you 7%. You gotta pay the whole thing, or 10%. So I think it should be negotiated. It's kind of like when you go to a job. Union contracts, anything, everything is negotiated. No one person gets everything they want, but here they do. I understand we have to attract business. So I get the fact that we have to, you know, again, market ourselves, so you can't charge the full amount. But why, you know, a 70%, like on that whole property, the Atwood, I think we're gonna get, and not minimizing $100,000, but $100,000. That's what we're gonna get the first year because of the abatement.
A lot more than that.
Absolutely, because 70% is abated. So it's going to be, and I remember, again, we were on the council, and Nick Pascal, myself, Michael Last, Gail Burns, I think Mitch, who else was on with us? Brent Watt. And we were on the council when one of these came through, and it was kind of like an up or down type of thing. It wasn't to be negotiated. Again, we didn't have any choice.
The feast or famine with that?
Yeah, kind of.
You don't?
What we did do, though, is we added a little bit of time. I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 years to the end. So the developer at least has to pay full taxes to Allentown for 3 or 4 years. But had we not been there, that wouldn't have happened. And I don't know if that's happening with the new business that's going by the train station, because it was announced, and then 2 days later when I went to the council meeting, there's a tax abatement on the agenda, and several people did speak against that tax abatement that night.
Okay. Well, I think we beat you up enough tonight. I appreciate you coming and doing this for us. I mean, all these people here, you know, they want to know, not the people here, I mean the people in the phone there. They want to really,
People.
They want to really, it gives them a little insight about, you know, things they don't get to see all the time, and the questions that they don't get asked all the time. So I'll leave it to you, and then we'll wrap it up. You get to finish it out.
I get to finish it out. There's only one thing I'm going to finish it out with, and that is this week's voice with the mayor defends administration's fiscal record. I specifically want to talk to the paragraph where he blames the previous council, which would be me, and again, the people I mentioned before, Michael Last, Nick Pascal, Mitch, Gail Burns, Brent Watt, for his financial woes and his problems because we turned something down. What he's not telling you is that was a bad plan, his refunding. It absolutely was a bad plan. The only way, it wasn't a deficit bonding package. So when he passes it off as the same thing that's going now, no, it was not a deficit bonding package. It was a refunding. And what he was doing is taking different bonds that would have been paid off in a year or two and extending them out to 10 years. He was skipping the first payment. I have schedules that show that the principal payment for the first year would be 0. You would pay interest only. What we did do, and of course the mayor wants to say this, but then he doesn't want to tell the whole truth. We got together, we worked together, the council, and we came up with a plan. There was one set of bonds in there that it absolutely was lucrative, and that was the pension bonds for the police department, because they bonded several years ago for their pension. That saved the taxpayers, according to the records, because I went back to look, $1.7 million. 1.7, and why? Because the term stayed the same, there were no skipping payments, and the interest rate, it's kind of like when you refinance your mortgage. If you can get a better interest rate and leave the term the same, you're gonna save money. That's what we did. That he doesn't bring up, but that is what that council did. So we gave back the taxpayers $1.7 million. So I think he should have included the whole story and not just part of it. Oh, and please, I can't forget the most important part. September 12th, I'm asking all of you, all Democrats, registered Democrats, and if you're used right now, you can still join us and become a registered Democrat. September the 12th, please come out and vote Row B. We have a wonderful team, and as Rich has just said, a lot of new people, new ideas, very energetic, very excited about helping West Haven. Polls will open 6 a.m., 8 p.m. Please come, please vote. We can't get there without you. Thank you.